without the express written consent of the producers, the McKinney Media Group. This is Hard Copy on the McKinney Broadcasting Radio Network. Hard Copy, as you know, seeks to lay out the facts in simple fashion for the inclusion of all Bahamians and Bahamians at heart. The focus every day to move forthright in our manner to build a progressive and developing country. Our desire is for a Bahamas with a confident, skillful, and productive workforce. We want a country that can feed and sustain itself. We want a country with a brilliant, visionary action plan that's ready to embrace a future of hope and prosperity. We encourage like-minded Bahamians to participate with intelligent and honest contributions. After all, my friends, we have a country to build. We've got jobs and industry to create, a people to inspire and empower, and generations of born and unborn Bahamians we the people must protect and plan for. And if not you, then who? If not now, then when? Today on Hard Copy, politics and a woman's perspective. It's all together today with Ali McIntosh, who sits beside me today on the show Hard Copy. And we're talking a lot of stuff. As usual, it's going to be quite interesting. This is Hard Copy.
What are your travel plans this summer? The Ministry of Tourism invites you to visit one of our many unique family islands and explore the Bahamas like never before. Eleuthera, Exuma, San Salvador, and many more offer exciting vacation packages with affordable airfare, room rates, and exciting things to do. Andros, Bimini, Cat Island are to be considered too. This summer, do something different. Do something bold. Do something uniquely Bahamian. Travel to the Family Islands and rediscover the Bahamas. For more information, visit myoutisland.com.
At Ron's Electric Motors, they repair and rewind all major brands of electric motors, including water pumps, generators, and the generator's back end, welding machines, electric lifts, air compressors, battery chargers, and more. They're equipped to handle up to 850 kilowatts and rewind up to 450 horsepower motors. They're conveniently located on the corner of Wolf and Clarence Roads and are open weekdays 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays till noon. They offer 24 hours emergency assistance. You can reach them at 242-356-0249.
The best choice I've ever made is when I came back to the Water and Sewage Corporation. It felt like the more I shower, the more I wanted to shower. I felt like I was on top of a mountain and the pure water of the sky just flowing on your body.
The Water and Sewage Corporation's offer of 50% off sign-up services is back for residents in New Providence and the Family Islands. Offer valid for a limited time only. Some restrictions may apply. Sign up today. The Water and Sewage Corporation. Committed to growth, committed to quality.
Transforming institutional investing, empowering Bahamians to save and invest, growing its business to create a strong and stable investment environment for generations to come. That's what CFAL has accomplished in its first 20 years. And that's what Bahamians can expect in the years to come. For at CFAL, we believe our past is a foundation for an even greater future. Call us today or visit cfal.com and seize your future.
Check out Life at Hills West Bay Street opposite Old Fort Bay. 80 by 100 lots starting at $160,000. Triple and townhouse lots at $190,000. Call 362-1214 or 362-1652 now.
Hey Bahamas, the signature event of the summer is almost here. Summer Glow. Independence Weekend, Friday, July 7th at Sapodilla Restaurant. One night of enchantment, entertainment, and flavor. With live performances by Julian Believe, Bodine, and Mr. Ghost Move himself, Abby. Music by DJ Fines. RSVP to live the experience. 327-2161. Follow Sapodilla Restaurant on social media.
And now, here's a message from Bishop Neil C. Ellis.
Today is a great time for you to evaluate where are you in your life. What did you do the last 12 months of your life? Have you consciously or unconsciously stopped believing God? Are you among those who seem more and more determined to walk away from those foundations which for generations have undergirded us as a people? Have you stopped believing in a holy matrimony? and good, wholesome family life? Have you stopped dreaming? Have you stopped hoping? Have you stopped seeing? Because you stopped believing in the Bible as the inherent word of God. Consider your ways.
Big up yourself, man. It's the Steve McKinney Show on Bahamas Live.
Yeah, man, put on your thinking caps, man.
Give it up. Oh.
I feel them in the one drop. Still got time to rock. You pick up your telephone. We all go to the throne. Steve McKinney bringing us. Fighting against the system, taking a better way. As we struggle day by day, sing it. I know Jah never let us down. Oh no, talking with God. I know Jah never let us down. Oh no, look at here. They make the world so hard, so hard. You got people fighting. They make the world so cold, so every day people are dying. Dread, hunger, starvation, lamentation. Read it in Revelation. You'll find your redemptions. You can give us the teachings of His Majesty. We don't want no devil philosophy. Tell him, Steve, give us the teachings of His Majesty. We don't want no devil philosophy.
It is Friday, the 7th day in the month of July. Happy Independence, one and all. As you battle the congested city streets and drive home traffic, we have a mix of sun and cloud today. 89 degrees on the outside in the nation's capital. It's hot today. And, of course, low tonight of 82. Thank you so much for joining us on the drive home. I'm Steve McKinney. This is Hard Copy, and we're brought to you today by Rosalie's Takeaway. They want to salute the entire nation on this independence. Seafowl, Cleaner Financial Advisors Limited, and they're your best choice when it comes to investing in your future. Sapodilla Globe, tonight, 44th Independence Celebrations, Bank of the Bahamas, the Show Bistro. Also, Montave's Inspiration, Super Value, the All Bahamian Supermarket, Rocky Farms Nursery, Water and Sewage Corporation, Ministry of Tourism, inviting you to travel the islands this summer. Echo Water, the official water of Hard Copy, Commonwealth Bank, the new debit card people, they salute the Bahamas on this happy independence, 44th anniversary. Cool Tech, the air canoe experts on Tonique Williams-Darling Highway. Lots of specials for this independence and for the summer. $365, air conditions, can you believe it? Anyway, Bahamian Brewery and Beverages. Superwash, open 24/7. Advantage Insurance and Brokers, 61 Collins Avenue. Ron's Electric Motors on Clark and Wolf Road. Executive Printers on Jerome Avenue. McKinney Media Group Limited, advertisement, consultation, public relations, the whole 9 yard. You want to call us first. Today on Hard Copy, you can call us on the Friday tradition at 325-023506. And, of course, you can get us at texting and WhatsApp at 376-9234. I'm looking at a lot of the stuff that we ought to be talking about as time goes on and everything is setting in. We are going to get a woman's perspective, and she is a political leader in her own right. She's also a political activist. Her name is Ali McIntosh. You know her. And she has some very good ideas, and certainly she has a lot of provocative things that she's always putting on the table that would make one think. And there are many ways that we can grow this economy, many ways that we can do a number of things here. She's got ideas like many people on this show do, in fact, have when they come here. And the thing is to get the right ears, if you can. Well, certainly Hubert Ingram got the right ears of some people, we do believe, because he made some public utterances that make sense. And not that when he speaks it doesn't make sense. These also make sense, is what I want to say. And of course, Ingram, the former prime minister of the Bahamas, he spent 3 terms in office as prime minister. You know that. And 3 non-consecutive terms. He had a good time for between 92 and then, of course, again in 97. Then, of course, he came back after that for another term in office around 2007 to 2012. And so he has experience, is what the message is. Well, Ingram was in the newspapers just the other day. I'm sure that you didn't miss it, talking about the fact that the government of the Bahamas must not stop Bahama. That was the headline, but there was a lot into what he said. If you read the story, you would see that there's a lot of indication that ministers right there hoping and looking forward to a government of the Bahamas, the Free National Movement, under Minnis, his protege, I suppose, to do the right things, to don't get into a mess, don't get pig-headed, is what he said. Don't get giddy. That's the word he likes to use. Don't get giddy. And there's some people here who believe that maybe they've already gotten giddy and they're doing some things that are just not traditional within the framework of the Free National Movement, their stylings, or they're just laid back a little too much and they should step it up. Whatever it is, we're hoping that Minnis would have heard him and take some good hints from him, because he says deliberately, or as he would say in his own words, deliberately, Ingram has said, leave it alone. Do not fool around with that Bahama thing. Let it happen, because we need the jobs. Further, he said some things that are very, very real. And he says that, look, we can't afford another downgrade. See, these are key things, key caveats that he said, salient points that one ought to listen to. And I'm hoping that Ingram came out of the woodworks because he realizes that something isn't really jiving right at this particular time. There seemed to be too much concentration on the faults of the previous administration, and it's distracting. He wants to see, I suppose, if you read between the lines, these guys who are now in the seat of power get on with the business of governing, which is what we've been saying pretty much. Get on with the business of governing. Those other things should be instruments of the state that they will go and deal with, as we've been saying, and let the chips fall where they may. Because the PLPs are not innocent. The previous administration is not innocent. But they may not be as guilty as we are charging, but they're not innocent. And so there's some things that are questionable with what all they did. But the thing is, Ingram seems to be indicating, wait a second, look here, do what you're supposed to be doing, get this country running. This downgrade thing that he alluded to is basically the fact that you don't want to find yourself on the other end of the wrath of Standard & Poor's or Moody's. They've been looking out for the Bahamas from a point of view as to what you all doing now. Let's see how you all have been doing in recent times. And the truth is, because the economy is not growing, the economy is just flatlined, and there doesn't seem to be too much optimism about a growing economy. The thing is now that we have to be very careful that we don't fall into the trap of being downgraded again. We are already at junk bond status, and there's even further penalty if we don't improve our lot. And so Ingram is saying, he's kind of reminding them, as a man who has been there for 3 non-consecutive terms as prime minister, I think Ingram is the fellow who has most of the wisdom as to how these things go. As he said one time ago in a press conference that I covered, he says, I'm the one who can take on these headwinds. You remember that? And he was saying sometimes these headwinds are so strong, one can be blown away, or one can wallow and in pity, self-pity, or one can just, recoil and pray they don't know what's going on. We don't know what category the present administration may fit in, but we do know this, that Bahama is something that the former prime minister believes should get the full blessing of the government, notwithstanding some things that happened to Sakos Marillion. They should get the full blessing. The new people, Chow Tai Fook Enterprises, Mr. Graham Davis and Company, they should get the full blessing of the government of the Bahamas, because the truth is the government needs them as well as they need the government. But these jobs are so important. in the environment now where there are no jobs. And you realize that what's happening in Grand Bahama right now is so depressing that even the ministers of Grand Bahama and those who are native sons of Grand Bahama are doing all they can to bring attention to what's happening in an economy that's flatlined, that is not growing, that unemployment continues to skyrocket, and that people are losing hope. So something has to give. And that's, I suppose, that's what not Minnis, but that is what the Prime Minister former had been saying. So it is quite interesting, and we're going to analyze a lot of this, not only today, but in days to come, about what the other indicators are, because here's Hubert Ingram, all right, who in fact knows what is happening, understands it, and is lending his assistance by way of speaking to a Rotary Club the other day at East Villa and making some comments and answering some questions that were not particularly relevant to his topic that he discussed about NGOs and all that kind of stuff at that time. But he answered some questions that talks to the actual political climate of the country right now. And I think that we are all grateful for it, because this is what a former leader should do: bring some scholarship to things and try to keep some things in line as best as possible. After all, this is also Hubert Ingram's country too, and I'm sure he would like to see things go well. But you know what was the real kicker? That there was this picture on the front page of the Nassau Guardian that says in the headline, "Ingram, government must not stop Bahama." This is what Ingram said: "Government must not stop Bahama." And in this picture, there's a wonderful celebratory photograph of one Brent Simonet and one Hubert Ingram. Now, you know, me being the person I am, I look at this and I read it all into this. You know me, pictures paint 1,000 words. And so when I look at the picture, I rewrote the caption in my own mind. It says, Brent Simonet and the former prime minister giving one another high five, it seems. And they're saying, boy, we did it on this picture. And Brent looked like he's saying to Ingram, oh, yes, I told you so. And Ingram was saying, boy, you did it. And of course, the final thing on this picture that I recaptioned, would have been the salt and pepper team. Hello? The salt and pepper team, the salt and pepper of the earth, the salt and pepper of the Bahamas, the salt and pepper of the Bahamian economy. Brent Simonet and Hubert Ingram. That's what they call themselves, you know. Remember that? The salt and pepper. That's what they call themselves. And so it was quite an interesting photograph. It made me chuckle. I said, boy, look at that. Hey, what a time it was back then. What a time it may be right now, and we may not realize it. Back together again, all of these little captions that you could put under this photograph. And that's just me being kind of like, you know, devil's advocate and kind of, you know, wicked on this particular one. But it should make all of those who are in position pause and take a look at that. Here are two giants, salt and pepper, two giants talking about some things that are very important and feeling good about it. The look on their faces tell me that we should be feeling okay, Bahamian people. We should be feeling okay because they look confident. They look as if it's going to be okay. Their pictures on this front page tells me all is well, even though we may not believe all is well. Maybe there's something, a catch-22 to this, that don't worry, if all ain't well now, all gonna be well. Because the salt and pepper team is to the rescue. If, in fact, this is a case of rescue. If it is a case of rescue. And I'm talking in parables here, but those in the political business, they understand that quite well. So, you know, I say that against the backdrop of so many people calling and looking at Minnis and those with jaundiced eyes already and insisting that you guys better get it together. But I'm saying what has happened here in the wake of Prime Minister, the Honorable Hubert Minnis, traveling to Grenada this week and being out of the country until later tonight. This tells me a whole lot because while they were away, the salt and pepper team was on the flow. And they look like they're confident. while they were away. And you see, so sometimes you just have to read into certain things, and even if you are dead wrong, at least you can bring a smile to some people's face that says, well, if anything goes wrong, maybe we can call on the salt and pepper team to do a double act. It's 6:30 in the 5:30. I'm sorry, right here on Hard Copy, and we've got guests out front, and I'm sure we're going to bring them in. We'll have a good time talking today. But there was a lot of things that Ingram said in that little speech over by Rotary to the East Rotary Club that happened on Thursday, I suppose it was. Not Thursday, early in the week, and it was printed on Thursday in the papers. And the thing about it is that he said some things that were sobering, you know. Sometimes when you get a big government, it's so big, it's so large, it's hard to manage it. It's like, you know, it's a difficult thing. Sometimes prime ministers would love that they don't have such a big group of people, a big wide margin like 35-4, and you know, you got to find everybody job. And you got to, you know, and he says, look, don't you get busy trying to find these political fellas jobs. You know, you can't give everybody a political job. These are the realities of things. And, you know, sometimes as a prime minister, one is, I suppose, hard pressed to not look in the eyes of people who are in his immediate vicinity to say that, you know, I can't give you a paying job to this corporation or whatever it is, because he's top heavy. And you could only name so many cabinet ministers, and you could only name so many, I suppose, parliamentary sects and that kind of stuff. And so everybody believes, as Ingram says, that I helped them win. I did a big job. I did big. I played a key role in this. And so they're expecting reward. And that's all Ingram is saying. And sometimes it is not a good thing because it's very difficult. And there's also the lack of control that can happen. And Ingram pointed it out, you know, Ingram said, and I never realized that, Ingram said, you know, at that same meeting, he says, listen, you know, sometimes when you're there and you have this big group that you're leading, the next thing that is a real difficult thing, he says, is when they start rowing, who's going to be the leader? Who is going to succeed? Hello. And you've got all kinds of ambitious people in this particular present administration. And everybody knows the players who want to be in charge eventually, I suppose, if they can wait. And he's saying, he's forecasting, take your time, take it easy, don't get giddy, don't get drunk with power, but try to do the people's work. And then he also said, you know, look, one of the things that's quite interesting is that you made plenty promises. He says, one of the things is this, that if you don't keep these promises, you could find yourself in great difficulty because of the many things that you promised. And already we have seen promises that ministers and those made that have not been kept and perhaps will not be kept. That is the value-added tax, the repealing of it, even the reduction of some items with value-added tax. See, these are things that have already faltered. And that reminds us of who? Yes, Christie and those who came on the mortgage relief train. Their idea, mortgage relief. Everybody said, boy, we voting for Christie. He gonna bring mortgage relief. Then when Christie got there, the mortgage relief went to hell. They also at that time say, boy, we voting for Christie because Christie say that we gonna have generation property that we can go to the bank and get put down as collateral and use to get a nice loan. And that went to hell. And so you see, sometimes you make these promises that are not realistic and people become disappointed. And then they I suppose they hound you and say, and you all say you're gonna do this. What happened to that? And that could become the narrative for the first half of the administration that's now in position. And the administration that's now in position simply said, look, you know, we're going to bring an economic tax-free zone over the hill. And we're going to make sure that over the hill gets the kind of, you know, exemptions that they ought to get to stimulate the businesses. And I suppose we've got to wait to see if it's going to happen. You can't count that one out yet. But that's a big plan. That's a big piece of the chunk. And maybe Minnis will pull it all together. We'll see. But Minnis was over in Grenada. Didn't have much fanfare except that he was in Grenada at CARICOM talking about the fact that he wants to solarize the entire Bahamas. And he didn't speak too much in depth about the whole idea of regional security as was anticipated. He did mention some things. I suppose we'll get the big story when the fellows return to the Bahamas and give us a rundown as to the scope of what all were discussed, or was all that were discussed in the meetings at CARICOM. But I suppose that Minnis did a pretty good deed, made a pretty good showing. And I'm happy that he did, because, it's a good start, his first meeting at CARICOM. And I'm believing that he would have rubbed shoulders with some people and made some connections that can be beneficial to the country going forward. In a minute, though, we're going to turn our attention to Ali McIntosh. She's come to the Friday tradition today, and we're going to give a good critique as to what's going on and see if we can bring you on page. You can call us today at 325-023506, 325-024243, 325-025253. You can mix it up and get busy. But what are your thoughts? What do you think about the statements by Minnis? That could be a part of our discussion today as well, as we mix it up. And did you read anything in particular into those comments? And were they genuine and sincere? Yes, they were, I think. But what do you think? You can call me and let's be a part of that. Let's run to the break and pay a bill or two. When we come back, Ali McIntosh steps in with me, and we're going to go at it and talk about some other things that may be quite interesting. I want to take it from a woman in politics perspective on somebody who believes that there are other answers that this nation needs right now. Maybe it needs a woman's touch. Do you think? Maybe the nation right now needs a woman's touch to the point where she can set things, the ducks in a row, and we can go after them and get this thing going. Maybe it's going to take a woman to get the party started. Hey. Maybe it's going to take a woman to get the party started, like I said. In a minute, we'll talk with Ali McIntosh after these words.
Transforming institutional investing, empowering Bahamians to save and invest, growing its business to create a strong and stable investment environment for generations to come. That's what CFAL has accomplished in its first 20 years, and that's what Bahamians can expect in the years to come. For at CFAL, we believe our past is a foundation for an even greater future. Call us today or visit cfal.com and seize your future.
Miss Day and the staff of Rosalie's Takeaway salutes the Commonwealth of the Bahamas this July 10th. Happy Independence, Bahamas, from all the community Rosalie's Takeaway stops. Poinciana Drive, Comabat Jolly, and Boyd Road. Rosalie's, when you just gotta have that real crack kong and chicken in the pie, because nothing else can please the appetite. The crowd knows just where to go this Independence season. Rosalie's, Rosalie's, Rosalie's. Happy Independence, Bahamas.
At Ron's Electric Motors, they repair and rewind all major brands of electric motors, heat and cooling water pumps, generators and generators back end, welding machines, electric lifts, air compressors, battery chargers, and more. They're equipped to handle up to 850 kilowatts and rewind up to 450 horsepower motors. They're conveniently located on the corner of Wolf and Clarence Roads and are open weekdays 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays till noon. They offer 24 hours emergency assistance. You can reach them on 242-356-0249.
Cool Tech is offering a hotter than July special this Independence. Cool down and beat the heat with a 9,000 BTU ductless unit for only $385. Move quickly and get a 12,000 BTU ductless unit for only $399. 18,000 BTU ductless unit for the low price of $590. You can beat these prices. Cool Tech Distributors of Lennox, serving your residential and commercial needs. It's an Independence special just for you to beat the heat this summer, only at Cool Tech. The Ekandu experts on Tonique Williams Darling Highway. Call them right now, 341-5665.
Attention homeowners, do you have enough coverage for your home and possessions? Well, if you're not sure, maybe it's time you talk to Advantage Insurance. Your property and belongings are probably worth a lot more now than when you first insured them. After all the natural disasters we have experienced, it's more important than ever to be fully protected. Call Advantage Insurance at 356-0285 or visit us on Collins Avenue today. Advantage Insurance, celebrating 20 years of service.
Ready for some good living? South Seas Estates just off Bacardi Road. Lots 75 by 100, 96,000. Duplex lots 80 by 100, 130,000. Multifamily lots $120,000. Call 362-1214. South Seas Estates, and be sure to inquire about beachfront and Marina View lots.
Ah, it tastes so good. Fresh, clear, ultra pure. Available at your neighborhood depot and nearest store. Echo Water, premium distilled. Don't be surprised. It comes in just your size. 20 ounces, 1 and 5 gallons, and 1.5 liters. Echo Water, just what the body needs.
The Show Bistro, Nassau Street, is serving up a delightful food fair this Independence. Be sure to make it a special occasion during the entire month of July and feast like a proud Bahamian at the show. Boiled and stewed grouper, served with piping hot yellow grits and Johnny cake, seasoned to perfection. Signature stewed conch, succulent and delicious as only the show can do it. The Show Bistro, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner with an Independence flair for the entire month of July. Come dine in with us and enjoy the good times. The Show Bistro, open every day including holidays from 7 a.m. until. Serving seafood and Bahamian delights galore all day only at the show. Nassau Street. Takeout orders also available. Telephone 323-4400.
Why I'm bursting with pride.
It was an easy choice going back to water and sewage because when I was on the well, water smells, the pressure was always low for the water and sewage, and with better quality water, and also the pressure is always high.
The Water and Sewage Corporation's offer of 50% off sign-up services is back for residents in New Providence and the Family Islands. Offer valid for a limited time only. Some restrictions may apply. Sign up today. The Water and Sewage Corporation. Committed to growth. Committed to quality.
Time to put on that radio. It's the Steve McKinney Show. Bahamas Live, ain't no jive, touching every soul, trying to get the message out to people far and near, giving thanks to the one who brought us here, brought us here, brought us here.
You're right on the heartbeat. I mean, of the and the pulse of the people in the nation.
It gives people information what they don't really think about.
And I mean, it's the bomb.
I am just amazed.
Keep up the good work. I'm one of those persons out here who believe in everything that you're doing.
You can hear the passion in your voice.
He's very knowledgeable and that's what everything he does.
He has a more calm, more balance, and a more tranquil attitude with the people that call in the show. So I would say he's a better speaker or show host.
There's one show that I think that the hearing people need to listen to. It's Hard Coffee.
Welcome back. This is Hard Copy Live on this Friday. Yes, and of course we are expecting Ali McIntosh. I don't know if something went wrong. She's not here. She's confirmed to be here, but nonetheless, we've got lots of things to talk about in any event. And of course, you can begin with me today by let's take a look at the things that Ingram said, and let's examine it and let's have fun with it, because obviously Ingram has been saying some things to get the attention of the Bahamian public, because these things actually just happen. You think it's a coincidence that they all happen, that minutes was away, that he went to Rotary, that he said these things, that he made this statement, don't meddle with Bahama, leave that alone, that he talked about getting giddy, that he talked about, he would wish that these guys would stay humble and all that kind of stuff because they're so top heavy. What are your thoughts along those lines? You can call me at 325-0235 or 6, 325-0242 or 43, and 325-025-2053. I also want to say today that we salute the country on its 44th anniversary of independence, and we certainly hope that you've all joined in to be a part of this. Everything seems to be just rushing up on the new government, and so a number of things, while they seem to be ready about the independence, I know that they got a big thing going on the fort and wonderful celebrations planned for the entire week thereabouts. It's quite interesting that people in Grand Bahama are saying that they don't feel nothing because not even a car got flags on it, things like that is what I'm getting out of the report down there. But not to be discouraged by that. The thing is that we are in a festive mood. This is independence. It's 44 years since we've been as an independent nation. And we are enjoying it. We are proud Bahamians like everybody else. I'm sure that you are. Many of the storekeepers have gotten into the mood and the spirit of independence, and you can hear from the flurry of advertisements that are on. And we want to wish everyone a wonderful independence at the same time, and that we be safe, and that we also behave ourselves. Those who don't know how to behave themselves, behave yourself. That's the message 101. Behave yourselves. This is a schooling of 101 to behave yourself, and that's all you have to do this weekend, and enjoy the whole festivities. Now, 325-023546. Let me check my actual WhatsApp and texting and see what people are saying here. Say, while I may agree that Ingram's advice is good, Steve McKinney, how come he did not show up in the 15 years he was at the helm? We thinking just what you thinking, Steve. Laugh out loud. What am I thinking? I'm innocent. I'm not thinking anything. All I'm saying is that Ingram has made some stuff happen, and he said good things. I think that we should take that advice. And what do you mean he didn't show up? I mean, he did a lot of things in the 15 years that he had this, not 15 consecutive years, but as prime minister, I thought he made an impact. The biggest thing that he made as a mistake, in my view, in that last time that he was then in office between 2007 and 2012 was that Patelco thing. We didn't understand it then because at the same time, Ingram them did not explain it to us because it seemed as if they were just so in such a mood to sell, to privatize BTC. Now, you knew at the time that they had been starting the process of privatization for a little while. Frank Watson, who was Ingram's man of business as deputy prime minister, back then he had begun the process of all those things, what you call it, disengagement packages. And we spent a whole lot of money to get BTC down to the level it was, that it became, so that it could be saleable and they could find a buyer. Remember that? They had to give a lot of money for disengagement packages. And so that was the only thing really that really threw Ingram in a big way. And we punished him for it. We punished him for it. The Bahamian Society punished him for it. And, that was one of the things he spoke about in that interview. Or not interview, in that his remarks at the question and answer period at the Rotary Club the other day. He spoke about it. He says, sometimes when you do things, he talked about words to that effect, that they will deal with you for it. And he was dealt with. He was booted out of office. And the same thing happened with Christie them this time around for the what? For the way that they handle the situation with the finances. This value-added tax thing was Christie's downfall. I mean, a lot of things were his downfall, but that in particular became the albatross around his neck. Oh, that's what's happening. She is stuck in traffic, I am told. I don't know if there's traffic on Friday. She must be on Bay Street. Hey, what you doing on Bay Street, Allie? Anyway, we'll see if she ends up here. So this person is saying, we are thinking what you're thinking, Steve. I don't know. Are you thinking what I'm thinking, Steve? PM, Dr. Minnis, beware of the termite, salt, and pepper effect. By the time as you get wind of what's happening, it would be too late. The termites would then eat the wood, is what this fellow is saying. He is laughing out loud. That's quite interesting. Who else is texting me here this afternoon? I've got many texts coming in. You can feel free to do so as well. 376-9234 as we look at where we are in the country right now. And, you've got to admit, you felt good when you saw Ingram in the newspapers on the front page with that big laugh with Brent Simonet. You had to feel good about that. At least those in the body politic of the FNM would have been assured or reassured that just in case there's part two, there's a part two of the act, just in case. And I'm talking in parables there, but I think you get it. Anyway, here's what some other people have said to me today on this Friday. Steve, it's a combination of things to determine how governance can be effective. The Bahamian people no doubt need to know the status of their public treasury. Indeed, we respect the Honorable Hubert Ingram, but he too was voted out. Allow the new administration to present their ideals to the table. This person says, we, the entire Bahamian public, will be the official opposition because we realize we cannot depend on the PLP. They are not credible to us at all, so they're an ineffective opposition is what this person is saying. What are your thoughts? 325-023516. Hard copy, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, Mr. McKinney.
Hey, man, what's going on your way, man?
Monkey here.
I know this Monkey Diamond. What's happening?
All is well, Steve.
That's good.
But Steve, Mr. Ingram, may be on target with 1 point. He may be on target that is very important because of the numbers that are, or my government don't get giddy. It's on target in that regard.
He's on target that if they get giddy, what happens if they get giddy?
Well, if they get giddy, Mr. McKinney, you know when you put water in a balloon?
If they go again, if they get giddy, what?
You put water in a balloon and you stick the balloon with a pin?
Yeah.
That's exactly what will happen, Mr. McKinney.
My Lord, if they get giddy.
Yes,
but how do they not get giddy? I mean, you know, you're looking at a group that's top heavy.
Well, Mr.
35 to 4 in the House of Parliament.
I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared to explain everything at this moment.
I see.
Because we're still on a political watch. And so in months to come, I will be prepared to explain if the balloons burst. I'll be able to explain why.
I see.
But on another note, Brent Simonet and Mr. Ingram.
Yeah. What about it? Salt and pepper.
This is the same Mr. Ingram who said that Perry Christie was the best man to run the country.
Yes.
This was the same Brent Simonet who Mr. Ingram fired.
Yes.
And I'll say no more, but I'll say this. On the last note, Mr. McKinney, both of them on watch also.
They're on watch?
They're on watch, politically watched.
They are being politically watched by the body public, the Bahamian people.
From the Bahamian people.
But, you know, they may also be on watch to make sure that the fellas who are there don't get giddy.
No, Mr. Kennedy, it's bigger than that. I think it is bigger than that.
You think it's bigger than that?
Yeah, this has to do with personal interest.
I see.
Okay?
That's real stuff.
We'll get to the bottom of that shortly.
I hear you. Okay, my brother.
Why the heads start to rise, and there's a reason why these guys want to come back in the game. And it's big, Steve. So we're gonna deal with it in months to come.
Does it have anything to do with Aragonite and oil and all them kind of things, natural resources? Does it?
Steve, go in front of the class. either you go in front of the class, or you lose the donkey and tie me. And they might be good friends.
I hear you. I appreciate it. Thanks for your call. All right. It's quite interesting. You remember there was a song, there was a movie once upon a time called Sergeant Pepper, Lonely Heart Club. You remember that? That was with Sammy Davis Jr. and all those people back then. Well, we call this Salt and Pepper, Merry Heart Club, not Lonely. And, you know, there's a lot in what we're talking about here. There's a lot in that. You know, maybe a little bit too deep for some who are just, you know, just coming into the game of politics. But that goes far. You heard what the guy said just now, that that could be from a perspective of personal interest. I don't think so. I think that Mr. Ingram is genuine in this regard. Honestly, I do. No jive. I believe that he's genuine. I think he's forewarning because he may have been hearing some things, you see? He may have been hearing some things that some people may want to dabble in a direction where it may not be feasible. It may not be prudent to go in a particular direction. And, you know, there's been the Ismailian factor The Ismaridian fact is very, very real. Don't be foolish. The Ismaridian fact is real because yes, somebody put up some money for the Free National Movement, and he may have been. I don't know that for a fact. He may have been a person who contributed. He may have been. And if he has been one of those who contributed, there are political operatives that will exploit that and talk about it, pretty much like how Bradley Roberts and them were trying to talk about it and indicate and kind of hits the two together and saying, you saw Ismaridian up there, the government house, sitting up big and brisk. Come for his things, is what is what they were saying. But of course, Menace has been focused to say, no, we will continue to work along with Chow Tai Fook Enterprises and Mr. Graham Davis, and we are working with great synergy and harmony that this thing comes off, that they are able to jumpstart the economy by getting Bahamians to work at Bahama. And so Menace is keeping the high road on that particular regard. But there are others who are a part of the Menace administration who were known individuals who were working down at Bahama or working on their behalf. And as a result of that, there are people who tried to stickle them, like Denicio, like Jeff Lloyd, like Marvin Deems. They tried to stickle them. You know the story. Come on, let's be real. You know the story. And so not that these gentlemen have any allegiance to anything. What was in the past is in the past. Right? Right? Okay. 325-023516. Good afternoon. How are you? Hard copy.
Hey, good evening, Mr. McKinney.
Reconciler.
Yes, sir.
I recognize your voice.
Yeah, back on course, and I took a little break and, just getting some things organized in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot is being said, Brother McKinney.
Tell me about it.
And it's not something to take for granted or take lightly. Now, one thing I would never disregard is history. And when anyone opened them, like when I was in a church one time for 20 years, I general overseer.
You were general overseer?
As leaders, Prophet Morley.
Is that right?
May his soul rest in peace. I was there for 20 years, and he ordained me in 1992, along with others. And I can tell you, he said, when someone opened their mouth and tell you something, you must, in your mind, decipher that and see why they are telling you that or where they are going with that.
That's true.
You understand?
Yep.
Don't take nothing or nobody for face value.
Well, I got a saying, too, that I learned from Mr. Ingram. And, I was I assisted and was a part of the Ingram administration's PR stuff at one point in my jobs at BIS and the rest of it. And I will tell you, being around him and knowing him, he says exactly what he's saying, and you've got to understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
And that's why, for me, I take I pay special attention to it. But you know something? Ingram told me once upon a time, he says, Steve, he says, everything is relative.
That's right.
I say, Prime Minister, what you say? He says, everything is relative. He says, a fella may say something to you today.
Yeah.
And you don't understand what it means.
Yeah.
Say, but next 2 weeks, he may say the other part.
Yeah.
And then you link the two of them together. And when you link the two of them together, you say, I see what he's going.
You get your answer. But see, Mr. McGinning, this thing with special interest goes deep in the F&M party. Mr. Ingram was a former prime minister. Mr. Ingram made a law. The first law he made when he came into power in 1992 was to establish the get rid of the Immovable Properties Act. To come with the land titles, International Land Titles Act, right?
International Land Policy Holders Act.
Land Policy Holders Act.
All right, yeah.
All right? And that benefited and still benefits today the rich people, the special interests, mainly of the lighter hue, who don't spend any money in the Bahamas, but they get this land, they own it perpetually.
Okay.
It's not like the movable property, they could only lease it or have it for a certain period of time, and they cannot pass it on. They didn't own the land. It was like a lease.
Yeah, well, now they own it. Under the new International Land Policy Holders Act, they would own the land for perpetuity.
Exactly.
Which means that they can
pass it on to their generation.
Yeah.
So, to cut a long story short, Mr. McKinney, I am not going to say everything because I cannot, but I'm watching some things. I take great. I listen intently to what Mr. Ingram says as a former prime minister and as an experienced man. You know, he can make he makes a lot of sense in that. But I know there are other parts of that that is beneficial to his personal interests and others who he may represent.
I see.
Okay? So, Mr. McKinney, this country, the Aragonite, I saw that video a few weeks ago about what's going on in Freeport. That huge monstrosity that is mining the Aragonite in Grand Bahama. All right? And that they make it million on the, in the Bahamas, they give it 2 cents a metric ton. You know they pay on the international market for a metric ton? $900 to $2,500 a metric ton. We should not have a problem of national debt in the Bahamas. That should be good. The government should be getting at least 45 to 50% of that as the country of origin, where all of these resources are coming from. And this riches from our land and sea. Okay?
Well, it's going to be...
So I take, with, you know, and see, with Bahama, don't touch Sarkis. That's garbage. Sarkis, and I am not holding brief for him. I don't even know the man. But I know he was shafted by the PLP and the Chinese. And they have this talk with the Chinese now for $400,000 with some chairs and maybe another delay. If they're going to lay that for $400,000, right, and all that, that means they're definitely not acting in good faith. And the government should give Mr. Ismailian a chance to have some right of refusal to repurchase this land. Because I do not trust the Chinese, Mr. McKinney, because they are not operating acting in good faith with the Bahamian people. That's been proven. All right? For what they've done in the part of history. You see, I look at the history of these people. And when they open their mouth, all right, I know Mr. Minnis, you know, he have a lot to learn. All right? And he already made some mistakes.
Oh, goodness.
With regard to the poor people and that, the refusal to repeal the water and all of that. But I will give him a chance to deal with this if he's acting in good faith. The laws of this anti-corruption. Some people in this town from all colors and political persuasion don't want them to put those anti-corruption laws in place because it would expose who they were associated with and is associated with, the monies that they are perceived to have made, and the truth will be the light of day. And some of these things must go through the courts because there's a bunch of corruption went down from the PLP and the F&M in the past. Have a good day, Brother McKinney.
I appreciate your call. The only thing that I would say to all of that, and I hear you going on with it, the anti-corruption law that has now been constituted, when I say the anti-corruption, not the law, the actual unit that Commissioner Greenslade has put together and caused to be launched, it seems as if they have started out with this whole bit about the BAIC project, the BAIC situation with Mr. Smith, the former chairman, who was also deputy speaker of the House of Assembly in the last administration. And it seems as if they're going to open that back up now that they seem to have some teeth in this particular unit to see if they can go back and do investigations and then deal with it. I don't know. I'm not so clear as to what that means. I'm not so clear if they have to actually go and get legislation to do that, or if they just can actually do it. And maybe that's what they can do, just do it, because I see where they say that this new unit is now taking the situation under their wings to go and deal with. And so this may lead to the rearrest of a couple of those people who were earlier brought before the police, but were not charged with anything right after the May 10th general elections. And so I don't know if the anti-corruption unit is a focus unit that that will just be looking at crime or the appearance of crime at a local level that involves Bahamian people, but only at the regular, average, everyday folk. It has to be, if in fact it's constituted and being pushed by the government of the Bahamas, it has to be a unit that's going to look at all the malfeasance or the misfeasance or the whatever you want to call it, or the misappropriation and the mismanagement. It has to look at all of those things and get them at every level, not just the little fellow, because too often we see these things happening with just the little fellas who are hauled before the courts and prosecuted and all that kind of stuff. And the big fellas, you know, they go someplace fishing. I remember this case that happened on Paradise Island, where this fella fired a weapon at a plane that was landing on the Paradise Island Strip. This was the days of Merv Griffin, and they had the airlines that used to land over there. Merv Griffin, remember that? The little props. And this fella just got so annoyed. He was a homeowner. He just took his gun and just fired pop 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 at an airline. You know, he got off, right? And the same week, fate would have it that the same week, this fella from Beantown, literally from Beantown, must be true, Finlayson Street or somewhere, he was caught with a pistol. The pistol was an old flare gun, and it was so rusty that you couldn't hold it in your hand for all the rust going on your hand. That's how rusty it was, seriously. And he was hauled before the courts, and he went to jail. And we were very proud of that as people. It was a big story because I was on More FM at the time with the You Make the Call show, and I gave it a lot of play. And I couldn't believe it, but it didn't stop him from going up Fox Hill. Now, here's a case where this fella shot at a plane. Go check the records if you think I'm kidding. Nothing happened there. Was a white foreigner, thought his head was bad, and that's what he did. That's true. So I'm saying when I see these kinds of experiences, I like to always remind people that, look, make it a law for everybody. Make the anti-corruption unit effective. We need it. I support it, no question. But we need to make sure that it has some teeth in it and that it's going to be straight across the board. If they got to haul some politicians before the court, well, they're not too big and important to not do the bank lien bop. That's what we used to call it back then, the bank lien bop. These days it is the Nassau Street bop because the court's on Nassau Street there. You see? And so we want to just remind you, we are your conscience. This is the conscience. Hard copy is the conscience of the nation. And so we remind you as the conscience that, just do the right thing. Everybody will be happy. Hard copy, good afternoon. How are you? Hi there. Are you there? Okay, I'll come back to you. Hard copy, are you there?
Hi, Steve.
Hi there.
Yes, Amos J. Miller, Israel. This is the last show before independence, Steve. So please allow me to make this point. For the Bahamian people, I want us to know we are a royal, peculiar, priesthood, spiritual people. It does not matter because of the oppression and the aggression by those who have come up against us in every shape or form that have left us as a people searching answers. Well, Steve, from 2010 to 2017, I ended that answer with my life as relates to repentance. 2010 represented spiritual repentance for an individual. This is where, hello? Steve? Come on now, Steve, man. Come on, listen.
Amos,
Steve,
come
we're
on.
talking about
what you
all
talking
the
about?
stress the Bahamian people have caught in 44 years.
Okay.
I'm not going to be disrespectful to nobody.
I see.
I'm just trying to explain to you the importance of repentance as it relates to an individual, first. Secondly, as a Bahamian young man or young lady, the importance of the preamble of the Bahamian Constitution, the importance of the Constitution, the importance of the British Nationality Act, where the Bahamian Constitution came from, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, where all of the international laws and average constitutions that would have been established as of 1948 came out of. And if any Bahamian thought that they could rob the people of the Most High God, we are Bahamian people, in 2017, the very same Bahamian people of 1973, the very same people of 1965, for some of us and my grandfather, day and time in Athens, Cricket Island and Long Key. Now, I got the association books with all the original names of the Bahamians who were anything and were supposed to be anything leading up to 1967 and then leading up to 73. Yeah. Okay. Now, this is what I'm saying. Bottom line, Dr. Deborah Bartlett and ladies like her, young men like me, you can't say they can say, oh, Amos this and Amos that. But what are you going to say to Dr. Deborah Bartlett? What are you going to say to the average Bahamian people who have a voice for themselves? Some of us, all of us don't have eyes to see thanks to the bad chemicals in your food. Yeah, okay? And here's the sun looking up the sun, the Almighty Creator.
I got you. I help you. Oh, we pray for Amos. Amos, we pray for you. We know that you're trying, and we want you to try and keep it going, but you know, you're still a little dusty. That's what the old people say. You're a little dusty. But you know, I respect you. I appreciate what you're trying. I appreciate it. Hard copy, how are you?
Good afternoon, Mr. McKinney. How you doing?
Why you want to laugh at Amos, man?
Hey, but look at Steve. Steve. Hey, what you growing around the corner?
What I going with?
What you growing around the corner, man? What you plan? I try to. I don't know what to plan to all the seed.
No. You can't really plan now. All you can do now. See, let me give you a lesson, Sparky. Right now, you need to be preparing your ground for later on in September. That's when you can start the plant again. You see, it's too hot for you right now. The most you can do.
Plants and the bananas.
Yeah,
they spout
that's going to happen from the rain. But you can
and all the other stuff.
Put some okras down and call it a day.
I got some goat pepper. Look like they ain't dying. They just keep giving me a bunch of goat peppers.
That's good. Goat peppers and finger peppers. That's good. And some okra.
But, you know,
that's about
first of all, let me wish you and your family a happy independence. Let me wish the Bahamian people a happy independence. I'd like to welcome our visitors, even the illegal ones who are already here, to please enjoy our independence celebrations. I want to ask this question, Steve. I asked this last year, and a lot of people got a little angry about it because, you know, Steve, sometimes I would like to talk about, you know, the taboo question. I remember growing up when we used to have John Canoe, and Steve, give me time to say this. We used to have John Canoe on Bay Street, and all the Bahamian people at that time, before independence and everything, used to enjoy John Canoe. I used to see the white people coming out of Savoy Theater after the, what is it called, the midnight theater, midnight show?
Late show.
They come out after that with their little hats on and stuff like that. And Charlie Moss and we used to call it the White Scrap Gang. They come from Virginia Street. Everybody used to enjoy John Canoe and the different cultural events. You used to go to the nightclubs. The white people used to be there just like the black people. But nowadays, our Bahamian whites don't seem, for some reason, don't seem to participate in our cultural events like John Canoe and the Independence Day on the Western Fort. I look at the crowd sometime and I walk through the crowd. Most of the white people seem to be foreign tourists that come in here or been invited by the American Embassy and stuff to mingle in the crowd, and the tourists come and enjoy the fireworks and stuff. But our Abaco, Spanish Wells, and all of them, our Bahamian whites don't seem to want to partake in our celebration. We are all Bahamians. There's no Jamaican Bahamian, no Haitian Jamaican, no Barbadian Jamaican, no English or American Bahamian. We are all Bahamians. Once you become a citizen, you are a Bahamian. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
And what I'd like to say before is, Steve, please do me a favor. When you see Dr. Nelson Clark and Dr. Timmy Barrett, can you please tell them to change the pills they give in Amos? Okay, have a good day.
You leave Amos alone. Amos means well. It's just that Amos has a lot of things on his head that he wants to say, and they all come out clustered and all bunched together. You know, that's what's really happening. But he's a good guy. He means well. And we say a little prayer for Amos that he can get it together and make his contribution, because we think that all persons should be a part of a conversation and continue to write the narrative. I noticed that some people have already hijacked what I was talking about with Ingram and those. Maybe that's a too uncomfortable situation to deal with. But I mean, well, I think that they're doing a good job, him and Salt and Pepper, and those who, in fact, are trying to keep the government on the straight and narrow. But of course, you know, like everything else, Bahamians are excited about so many things that we sometimes too can forget that it is independence. And, you know, sometimes I would like to just talk around the whole thing and hope that people would just show their patriotism by just saluting the country if that's what they desire. But today we had expected to talk to Ali McIntosh, who had promised me sincerely, and now I'm getting a note saying that she's stuck in traffic and she won't make it in time, whatever that means. Of course, that goes without saying how disappointed I am, especially that, you know, she was supposed to be here. And, you know, really, the truth is she confirmed that she'd be here. And when we do a show like this, I came to do the show live today just to make sure that we can talk. So I wanted to feel guilty, wherever she is. I wanted to feel guilty that she should have made an extra effort to be here as she had promised. And that's all a part of what leadership is all about. You give your word, you must be there. And this thing about stuck in traffic, you must be parked and they got you anchored down. Traffic. I hear you, but, you know, I don't accept that. But, you know, that's how I go. I mean, I'm going to tell you, because we have a whole nation waiting to talk about things, and that's just the way it is. But, you know, for what it's worth, we make a note of that, and we make a mental note of that as well. Now, the other thing is that Ingram said this. He says he recommends that this new administration led by Minnis guard and remain humble. He says, we believe that they must be on their guard. The Minnis administration must be on their guard and remain humble. What do you think he means by that? Be on their guard and remain humble. What do you think that means? Call me, 325-0235-6, because there's a lot in that. And he also talked about the fact that they're top-heavy. He also says, don't fool around with Bahama. And I told you earlier why that is so very important. Because of the fact that we need to make sure that we can grow this economy, and we need them jobs. Them same jobs down in Bahama, don't mind all this political talk. Those jobs are needed, because if Bahama is up and running properly, the country's growth rate may take off. See, we are not growing right now, but if something happens at Bahama, we may begin to grow, and that's why they're important. I hear somebody else had said earlier today that, it was Reconciled who says that they're now spouting off at the mouth something, but they need another $400 million or something to do something with so they could really take off. I don't know. I haven't heard that, not officially. And so I will reserve comment on that for the time. All right. Hard copy, how are you?
McKinney, good evening. How you doing?
Very good, thanks.
McKinney, one thing I noticed with the United States, seeing as we always bring them into the picture when we discussing issues with Bahamas, when the president would have the mid-office, you don't see them in public arena beating down on the present administration. And I think there's a good reason for that. I think that it is very
premature, it is very presumptuous, it is very what?
I think because the country's at a junction now where we, whatever is put out there from persons who already had status, Mr. Ingram, it could have some implication. And I don't know where he gets coming from.
Do you mean to tell me that you take exception that Ingram is coming with some good advice?
Hello?
Do you mean to tell me that you're taking exception that Ingram is coming with some timely and some good advice to put on the table for Minnis?
Mr. McKinney, he's like when you was growing up and you beat someone up to the corner, right? And every time they see you, they know they can't beat you no more.
Right.
But they will be barking at you, but from a distance, because you know if you get close to them, you put another beating on them.
Yeah.
So that's nothing to worry about. Mr. Ingram is behind them. And so
wait a second. Mr. Ingram is behind Minnis.
Yeah, Mr. Ingram is behind them. Mr. Minnis already proved to them what he was capable of doing. And all
you mean now that Ingram and them are behind? They laid up for them, in other words.
Yeah, they laid up. I wonder what's his motive. And I wouldn't even give that so much energy and public display.
But you can't ignore it. You see, there's certain things that have been said that works into the narrative that if Minnis and those play a game of trying to go in a different direction, there are many persons who oppose that, and these are influential persons like the former prime minister who opposes that and says already, look here, don't fool around with this thing. Look here, get this job in Bahama thing completed. Don't go digging up and all the kind of other stuff. That's what he's actually saying. And, you know, one of the things that's quite interesting is that Brent Simonet, this is the other side of the puzzle. Brent Simonet said something in the newspapers. He says, you know, there are more of these deals that are yet unsealed. I don't know if people realize that. Brent Simonet had said in this same story, if you look at the papers, go over the papers, and he says there are a number of things that have still not been unsealed. Wow. So this is the key. The unsealed things that I alluded to some weeks ago when they first got this thing said that they unsealed the deal and there's nothing. And I said, there are some other things that they know are part of another package that may not necessarily be a part of this thing that was in the court. But there are many things that have not been spoken to yet by this government, this administration. And so with one big swoop, they looked as if they unsealed the deal and there was nothing there. You saw the Bahamian people like, that's it? I mean, that's all? What happened? I thought they were saying. And you see, Brent Simonet said it. It's right in the newspapers. Go and get the newspaper, pick it up and read it.
But what is so sad is,
he is saying that there are a number of things that are still yet to be unsealed. So what's in those?
Sitting there, they're not generating the kind of funds to sustain itself.
No, not yet. No.
And to pay employees. And it's being propped up by the Bahamian taxpayers' dollars or whoever's doing it. I don't think the Chinese pumping money into that.
You may be right.
I'd be amiss if it's the Chinese paying the light bill and everything else. So who's actually paying those bills as Bahamas struggle to reach the place where it can now sustain itself? See, while they playing cat and mouse with that resort, that resort is costing the Bahamian people, and it's unfortunate. See, it's very immature to be doing what they're doing because Bahama may have started off on the wrong foot, and we need to ask the question: would Bahama ever get itself together? And at what point, or would it be the cost now? Would it worth it? You know, by the time they get that thing together, it's generating money, and it has a lot of
you bring up some good points, because I'll tell you this: one of the things that's quite interesting is that they need to have branding redone, in my view. There's still the question as to whether or not this Meridian's project, because it's still being called Bahama. And I don't know if they got everything when he messed up with his bankruptcy thing. But of course, this branding, this rebranding may be a thing that's absolutely necessary, because, you know, people in the United States, people in the Far East and all over the world, they heard about all the shenanigans of Bahama. And that when they hear that name Bahama, they say, oh, that failed thing. So they may have to rebrand and do a number of things to get this thing started. That may very well be the reason why they can't fill those hotel rooms yet.
And
people are traveling for the summer.
Was trying to class Bahama with Atlantis. If the Chinese was the persons who gave Sarkis the monies, and they was also responsible for the construction. They could have easily sabotaged the construction phase.
Which is what he's saying they did.
Oh, you could never class Bahama with Atlantis in terms of the way how Atlantis was built. Atlantis was built in phases.
Yes.
When Atlantis was building, the first phase and all Bahamians was able to work a second job during the night. Bahama, in my view, never really offered itself during the night to have jobs available for Bahamians who want to make extra money. Maybe it was landscaping and other areas.
Yeah.
So Atlantis did much more for the Bahamian people and the economy than Bahama.
Very true.
In my view.
Very true. I appreciate your call. I appreciate your sentiments. And you're not wrong. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, Bahamians were able to get a good start. A lot of little companies came out of the whole thing with Atlantis project, and a lot of foreigners who came here to work on the project ended up with Bahamian companies. Don't ask me how. I know that they started having their own construction companies just all of a sudden. And that's why it's so important for this called Bahamas, Construction Association to get this legislation done in such a way that these things are reserved for Bahamian contractors, because it's all muddled up right now. All kinds of different people in this, and they will get all the big jobs, as you would imagine. That's just the way the thing is. But getting back to your point about the folks at Atlantis, First Nation status, they enjoyed that. They got a number of things. That's another reason why I believe that some people don't want the conversation to go in the direction as to really what Bahama has gotten. They may be some of the things that are still sealed, because Atlantis, I heard from their executive vice president, who had been asking the question in the media a couple of weeks ago about whether or not these guys have gotten the same kind of First Nation status treatment that they were entitled to, you see, and they were concerned about that from a competitive level. So there's a lot of little things behind the scenes that may not come into the purview of the ordinary average Bahamian citizen every day for a debate on the radio. But there are some things that are causing all of the usual players, or as we say in broadcasting, the usual suspects, to come to the forefront now out of the woodworks and say, this is what we think. There's a reason for that. Sometimes we can't pinpoint the reason, but there is a reason for that. And I like to say it this way: money go where money lies. And so at the end of the day, we see the salt and pepper team. That's loaded. I think that Simonette mentioned a couple of things that you ought to take notice of, that, while everything has not been unsealed. And I also think that you need to take notice that Ingram is saying, look, he wishes that the Menace administration would be on its guard. See, that's a command. Be on your guard. Now, why? These guys just won the government. What do you mean, be on your guard? Be on your guard and don't get giddy. You see, you may say that's provocative. Yeah, be on your guard. That's the former prime minister. And don't get giddy. I suppose maybe ministers aren't on their guard, and maybe they're showing signs of being giddy. That's one way to look at it. Or maybe he is telling you, take it easy, be on your guard, and don't get giddy. Say it another way. Be on your guard. Take your time. Don't go overspouting where you ain't supposed to be overspouting. And don't get greedy. Notice what I said. Don't get greedy. Don't get giddy. Don't get greedy. Don't lose control. Don't drive too fast. Don't take your time. Yeah, former prime minister saying those kinds of things. It'll make me sit up and pay attention. What do you? Did it make you sit up and pay attention? Sometimes you all think that we read too much into these things, and then later on, you find out that, oh, that's what Steve then was saying. And I tell you the story earlier. I told you the story earlier. Ingram says, listen, not everything is relative. Everything means something. Everything has a point and a purpose. A fella may say something today or may do something today that you do not understand. And then 2 weeks later, the other part of the puzzle comes into play, and you connect it. You say, oh, well, monkey, that's what he meant. Oh, I see now. So we remind you of these words. Be on your guard to the Menace administration, and don't get giddy. Hold on to that. All right. We run to the break. This is Hard Copy. And when we come back, there are more text messages to read for you and to get you involved. And you can call me at 325-0235 or 325-0242 or 43, 325-0252 or 53. 376-9234 is the number that you can call me, not call me, but text me or WhatsApp me on. And I'm getting a text from New York City. And I'm going to read that text when I come back after the break.
If it moves, chances are Advantage Insurance can insure it. We offer a variety of coverage options for cars, SUVs, trucks, scooters, boats, and more. Our comprehensive auto insurance policy covers loss or damage due to collision, theft, fire, flood, or hurricane. Third-party coverage is also available. Call Advantage Insurance at 356-0285 or visit us on Collins Avenue today. Advantage Insurance, celebrating 20 years.
The Show Bistro, Nassau Street, is serving up a delightful food fair this Independence. Be sure to make it a special occasion during the entire month of July and feast like a proud Bahamian at the show. Boiled and stewed grouper, served with piping hot yellow grits and Johnny cake, seasoned to perfection. Signature stewed cow, succulent and delicious as only the show can do it. The Show Bistro, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner with an Independence flair for the entire month of July. Come dine in with us and enjoy the good times. The Show Bistro, open every day including holidays from 7 a.m. until. Serving seafood and Bahamian delights galore all day only at the show. Nassau Street. Takeout orders also available. Telephone 323-4400.
Why I'm bursting with pride.
When we talk about Bahamians, we talk about a diverse people with very different dreams and goals. What we have in common, what makes us truly Bahamian in our hearts and in our souls, is our love of this beautiful country, our faith in the Almighty God, and our unshakable belief that we are each our brother's keeper. Happy anniversary of Independence, Bahamas. From your family at Commonwealth Bank, leader in personal banking services.
Hi all, Steve McKinney here to remind you that you don't have to spend big bucks to advertise or promote your products, services, or business. Call the McKinney Media Group Limited today and let the professionals fix you up a package, affordable and effective and guaranteed to grow your business. Advertise like the big boys at a fraction of the cost. Call the McKinney Media Group at 325-0235 or 325-0236. The McKinney Media Group, number 17 Gibbs Lane, Fort Charlotte. We make it our business to help you achieve success in your business.
At Ron's Electric Motors, they repair and rewind all major brands of electric motors, including water pumps, generators, and the generator's back end, welding machines, electric lifts, air compressors, battery chargers, and more. They're equipped to handle up to 850 kilowatts and rewind up to 450 horsepower motors. They're conveniently located on the corner of Wolf and Clarence Roads and are open weekdays 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays till noon. They offer 24 hours emergency assistance. You can reach them at 242-356-0249.
Miss Day and the staff of Rosalie's Takeaway salutes the Commonwealth of the Bahamas this July 10th. Happy Independence, Bahamas, from all the community Rosalie's Takeaway stops. Poinciana Drive, Comerbat Jolly, and Boyd Road. Rosalie's, when you just gotta have that real crack kong and chicken in the bag, because nothing else can please the appetite. The crowd knows just where to go this Independence season. Rosalie's, Rosalie's, Rosalie's. Happy Independence, Bahamas.
Get excited, Bahamas, as we celebrate our country's 44th birthday.
Wear your colors.
Wave your flag.
Decorate your homes and businesses.
And let's celebrate
the Beach Retreat, Rawson and Parliament Squares on Sunday, the 2nd of July at 5:30 p.m.
National Pride Day, Rawson and Parliament Squares will be transformed on Friday, the 7th of July. And the Grand Independence Celebration, Clifford Park, on Sunday, the 9th of July at 8 p.m.
Immediately following at 1 a.m., John Canoe, the People's Love and Unity Rush.
Then, the grand finale.
On Monday, the 10th of July, will be a state reception, Government House.
This is an exciting calendar of events you won't want to miss.
Oh, no, I won't. Will you be there?
Of course, I will beat you there. So let's get involved and celebrate our country's 44th birthday together.
Your Excellency, I thank you for most graciously appointing me as the fourth Prime Minister in an independent Bahamas.
The Chair will not allow the conduct of business of this House to descend to unacceptable level.
I am more than proud to be a Bahamian.
Welcome back, Hot Copy Friday Tradition. And of course, we're in full effect, and you can call us at 325-0235 or 6 to give us your comments or views about a number of things. We've been talking all kinds of stuff here today after Ali McIntosh didn't show up, so we are talking any number of things here today. We had planned a show about women in politics and the rest of it. And the Woman's Touch perhaps would have given us a good indication as to what the expectations are in the field of the governance of the country. But that didn't work out today, even though it was well planned and the rest of it. So we put that down. That's water under the bridge. And certainly you can call us at 325-023546. Now, I told you that when I'm come back from the break, I'd read you a text, right? That's quite interesting. A WhatsApp, actually. I got a WhatsApp from a good friend of mine. His name is Ronald Hall. And you may have remembered him. He used to work at John S. George way back. He was the air condition man. He's in New York these days. And he says, hey, good evening, Mr. McKinney. He says, you are making my mouth run water. So I sure could use a piece of that dirty crack hunk right now. Wishing you and your family and hard copy happy independence. Pray God blessings upon Peace Radio and the family. And of course, this is coming from Ronnie in New York City, who would, he would do anything now to get a piece of that nice succulent crack hunk. That is what is the big menu for the Independence. After Independence, after you go to Fort Charlotte and see the fireworks and everything else in the display, when you're leaving, you got to go down Nassau Street. And by Boyd Road or Point Sian, you fill up on all that juicy crack hunk and the rest of it. So there's somebody, Miss Rosalie in New York, who would love to have a piece of that crack hunk right now. I can imagine. And he's a true Bahamian because that's how Bahamians go when they come home for the holiday. And of course, it's Independence here in the Bahamas. And what else do I have here? This person says, the thing is, both Brent and Hubert came back for a reason. And if I was Menace, I would watch my back more than ever. As Tommy, what can happen? I will ask Tommy what can happen. I will be shocked if Menace completes his first term. Mark my words. This is what this fella says. This is Tiger. He says he'll be not Tiger, the one that you know now. Not Tiger Finisher. This ain't that Tiger. This is another Tiger. A fella called himself Tiger. And he says, I will be shocked if Menace completes his first term. I don't think it's anything like that, though. That would have happened before. Do you think? That would have happened before Menace got there. They would have tried to, I suppose, circumvent that from happening. But Menace is the prime minister. He's the legitimately a prime minister. His team won, and he won big and handsomely. And despite all that, Ingram may say that, it's hard to manage. Maybe Menace will be a better manager of a big majority win. Some people can manage a lot of people, and some people think it's just too much of humbug. Ingram was one of those who perhaps figure humbug. All these people I gotta please. No. But he's correct in saying you can't give everybody a job. Everyone who is in the political game, you can't give all them a job. You gotta look out first for the Bahamian public, and you've got to bring about the expectations, or you've got to satisfy the expectations of a lot of people who put you there to get some things done, like the economic tax-free zone over the hill, or the repealing of VAT, which I don't believe is going to happen anytime soon. If anything, Menace them going to have to tell us about how VAT can be increased. Hello? If anything soon. I mean, listen, we are in dire straits. Remember that. This country been broke. Remember that. Standard & Poor's and Moody's them want downgraders. You know what that means? People think that don't mean anything. That means that the World Bank, okay, the IDB and all these lending institutions that give governments monies to get capital works and the rest of it done, they can pull the rug from under us. We already been downgraded to junk bond status, which doesn't mean that investors will have any confidence to come in, put their monies in, because they may not get no returns on their money. They don't know what's going to happen. We're in a bad situation. So it is correct to say that we need to pay attention to what we are doing to shore up this economy, to collect the requisite revenue, to be able to pay off these bills and these debts, because that's important. That's what we do when we have a loan. And so Ingram isn't giving any bad advice. It's good advice. Depends on how you want to take it. Now, some people want to look at it from just a pure political thing and believe that Ingram could come and circumvent the prime minister. Please. That can't happen. Now, he can do some things through the party, and, like Loretta them did some things through the party. And before Menace knew it, he was no longer the leader of the opposition. I don't know if that could happen to the prime minister. Or maybe it can. We got to check that. But I don't believe McManus is anywhere threatened by that. I think that people will be people. There'll be mischief, political mischief. I think what Ingram is really doing is just talking to help to give guidance. I really think that to give guidance, because he perhaps sees some things that you may not see that don't look good. He may see some things and have gotten sight of some things. Remember now, he's a former prime minister. He knows the game. He understands this thing. So he may be seeing some things or some indicators that may be saying these fellas won't do that and that and that. That ain't the way to go. So he say, don't touch it. Leave that alone. So that may be his way, and there's nothing wrong with that. If there's anything else, perhaps we'll get that on the rebound. We don't know. We'll have to wait and see when it happens, and then we'll be the ones to comment on it first. Hard copy, how you? Hard copy, how you doing? 325-023516. You got to stay on the line, my friend. All right? So when we come to you, you'll be there. All right. Let me look at some other things here that people have sent me today. And I'm reading now some text messages. 20 before the hour. This is what the fella says. he's answering back Ronnie now. Ronnie is in Miami. This what the fella says. Say, Ronnie in New York. Say, you can drive to Miami Gardens to the Bamboo Shack. Laugh out. Yeah, the Bamboo Shack. They are in Miami, aren't they? Yeah, but it's nothing like the dirty skunk. That's what the fella's saying. That's the whole point of what he's saying. What this person is saying. Bahama will never be successful with Chinese ownership. The Chinese looking for a strategic foothold close to America, not Bahama. Stay awake, Bahamians. That's what they're looking for, is what this person is saying. Mr. Ingram is trying to keep the status quo. The new generation will not accept the old way of no accountability and no accountability and protectionism. He says the old way is now past, is what this person is saying, and he says Miles Monroe said so. The weapons that once kept the Bahamas can no longer keep the Bahamas. Isn't it interesting that Miles called this election perfectly and talked about all these new people? Now, a lot of people have told me, Steve, these are the new people, but they're not the ones. But that's a matter of opinion so far. They're just reach. And maybe they are the ones. We just don't know it. We'll have to wait and see. But the point is that Miles said a lot of things. He says, in the new dispensation, say, many people will be sick. Many people will be dying. You remember that too? That's a part of what he said. Well, we've lost some very, very important people in the nation's fabric. You know that, and I know that. And we will lose many more. That's just the way it is. That's the way things are. And he says many people will be sick and can't cope. That's a part of the prophecy. That's the part that nobody likes to talk about, not even me. I don't like to talk about that part. But the point is, these are things that he said. And remember now, he said them around the same time headed to independence. You remember that? It was independence he was talking about. And we are here on the threshold of another independence celebration, 44th anniversary. And we see that there are some people who've left us. I suppose one can say, but that goes without saying because people are always dying. That's what some people would say. I don't like to go there because, them things scare me, to be honest with you. It's like the old fella say, everybody want to go to heaven, but nobody want dead. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I've got calls on the telephone line. How you doing today?
Yes, good day, Steve. How you doing?
I'm good.
Happy Independence, sir.
To you too, sir.
All right. This is my thing. I want to speak on the PEC matter for a second, right?
Yes, go right ahead.
I remember a while back, or I can't remember the exact dates, but I remember BTC had some kind of catastrophic system failure, and we had no communications on the island.
Yes,
About twice that happened.
Yep.
And right after that, I heard all kinds of talks about how IRCA fined them and
yeah, IRCA did find them at that particular time.
Right.
Yes, that's correct.
I mean, all right, that was because of the interruption in service. I mean, I want to speak on IRCA now.
Okay.
with BEC or BPL or whatever they name, right?
BPL, yeah.
We have interruption in services all the time.
Yes.
We have nobody that comes out and tells us, well, this would happen and that happened.
Yep.
You know, I mean, our systems are failing us.
Yes.
And I hear nothing of them being fined or anything of that sort.
Yeah. No, you got a point. The point is, and I want to just help you with this point. A lot of Bahamians must complain. Listen to me now.
That's what.
BPL has done a tremendous, horrendous job. I mean, they've just been terrible. The trouble is that Bahamians don't write enough about it. You have to write in something to IRCA. You've got to also write BEC. And if they don't give you satisfactory answers, of which they have not been given satisfactory answers, you can write IRCA or make sure IRCA gets your note. You can go to their website and write them right now. And once there are complaints, sufficient complaints coming in, they will have to go and take a look at this BPL thing. But we don't do that. The other thing is this. BPL should be penalized for the many things that they've done with faults in the system that has messed up people's refrigerators and all kinds of stuff with power surges. But at the same time, IRCA has been saying that they will respond to media when we call them about this rate increase that happened, this sudden rate increase that nobody knew anything about. It wasn't foretold, it wasn't forecasted, but here it is. Everybody's light bills went up. I don't know if you realize that, astronomically.
Yeah,
but you see, but IRCA is saying, now don't come to us with that because we can't regulate this and that, the next thing. But the point is, the point where you need to be penalizing BPL on is by writing and complaining to IRCA and make it official. And you know what you should do, Bahamian people listening to me? When you do that, you need to CC Steve Broadcasting or Hard Copy Live. You need to do it because we will have the record of it that they cannot say at IRCA that they didn't receive anything. You need to do it. And the more you do that, that's how you're going to create the change that you want to see. If you don't do it, buddy,
understood, right?
They can be doing foolishness straight through.
That's understood. But let me just give you this quick story, right? I had a problem with my internet from Cable Bahamas.
Right.
For almost 2 years, Steve, intermitting and not giving me full service. Complain to Cable Bahamas. I complained in writing through emails. I asked them to reimburse me. I asked them, what is the process? Because I'm paying for a service I'm not receiving. Right. They told me that their policy is that you complain, and when they fix the problem, then you'll be reimbursed. That's on almost my third year, Steve, with the same problem.
You got a lot of patience.
They're telling me that it's an area problem, right? And I wrote IRCA. I called IRCA's office, spoke with a gentleman there. He told me what to do. I wrote the email. He said the emails are processed within a week because they have to go to the utility, write the utility and get a response from them. I said, fine. I wrote them. That was from September last year, Steve.
Wow.
This almost September again.
Yeah.
IRCA, it seems to me like IRCA is picking its battles or it's compromised in some way.
Yeah.
That's to me now.
I understand. And a lot of people feel that way. You're not way off. A lot of people feel that way. It's because it seems like kisses go by favor in this particular case. But the IRCA is burdened with tremendous complaints all around, from Cable Bahamas, from BPL, from BEC, or BTC, all kind of big places. The thing about it is that they've got to move in a more quickly. And they've got to put some pep in their step and try to have a group of people who are just like customer service reps from IRCA themselves to interface with these places that people have been complaining about and try to get it fixed. You know, the radio station here, we paid for a signal to happen on the cable apparatus for $8,000. Every now and then the thing intermits. It cuts off. Sometimes it's on. Some people call and complain. I tell them that they got to call IRCA. Not IRCA. I told them they got to call the Cable Bahamas. They're the providers of that particular service. But there's nothing wrong with our signal. I mean, it's very powerful, just as usual. It's just that they have a problem. They've been having a problem. It's been explained to me, though, over at Cable Bahamas, they've been having a problem since the hurricane, the last hurricane, Matthew, something happened and they can't seem to troubleshoot this particular problem. And it has a lot to do with the internet. It has a lot to do with the facility of their transmission. And as a result of it, you see the television jumping in certain areas, right? You see your screens jumping and all that. And then some people in the eastern area only got the provisions for the radio side of the signals just last week from the time of the hurricane. You see, so there's a lot of things that have happened and no one seems to be following up. And that's what our problem is.
I can say this and I can leave. You know what I think it is? They've been beta testing for Alive from like a year before they opened up or something like that, right? Ever since, my understanding is Alive is using Cable Bahamas' platform to run their mobile system.
Is that right?
Ever since that started happening, they could blame it on the hurricane. This is my opinion. I think it's something to do with that, with the whole internet system.
Well, you know something? IRCA would be part and parcel of what's happening there, because let me tell you, and I made that statement broadly, they were the ones who had been advocating what's supposed to happen with this Alive and the rest of it, and they seem to have been in a position to be looking as if they were coaching Alive along, and you know that could be the interrelationship right there. With the and the IRCA is supposed to be neutral and everything else, and I believe that they mean to be neutral and not on any side. But the truth be told, when I look at the notes, and I said this, and when I spoke with BTC about it, BTC will be in charge to do all kinds of things and making sure that these guys got the platform. That's why I hear what you're saying. I made a note of that just now. But they were making sure that IRCA was making sure that Alive got the platform or the infrastructure of BTC to provide the services on their infrastructure for Alive, which is the competitor. And they Alive, BEC, Leon Williams and them, they didn't believe that they should be doing that, and they got penalized. And I mean, it was just one big thing. And I suppose
I don't own a radio station, so I can say this. I think IRCA is compromised, Steve. That's that.
Yeah. Well, I hope they're not. I appreciate your call. I hope they're not. Because sometimes if you get into a situation like that, it could have a lot of repercussion, and you need to know that the Bahamian people are savvy to a lot of these things. I'm not as technically savvy as I should be, but I do know some of the things that have happened, and I do make mental notes of certain things. And I do remember that Alive wanted to be on the infrastructure of BEC, and they were being told that BEC had to provide them, even with their cell towers and the rest of it, that you've got to provide it. There's no sense IRCA uses this I suppose excuse or this reason. They said it doesn't make sense to litter the landscape of New Providence or the Family Islands with all of these cell towers, where possible the two companies coexisting can share the cell towers. I don't think that anyone who had a monopoly like BTC would like that to happen and like that to be the case. They want to see these new fellows who come, say they want to get into the mobile business, provide your own stuff. You put up your own tower, do your own thing. Don't come to us, is what seems to be the position of BTC. But then again, Leon Williams and those guys have gone dead in recent times. I don't know what's happening with them. So I suppose the whole thing is now free for all, and whoever gets the maneuvering on the inside with these fellas, they're the ones who will win. Hard copy, how are you?
Mr. McKinney, how you doing, man?
I good.
Yeah. You know what I called to say?
No, I don't.
This afternoon.
Tell me.
Is that Mr. Ingram was saying something, right? Mr. Ingram lose, Christie lose, okay? These people are responsible for the problems that we in at this time. Nobody listened to the people when they were selling BTC with the money in it. Nobody listened when they was telling the people don't renew the Hawksville Creek Agreement Act. Nobody listened. Now you want to give Mr. Minnis advice. I can tell Mr. Minnis something right now. In order for him to get this country going, he have to release the crown land to the Bahamian people. Let them take off in this country. Because guess what? If they withhold it from the Bahamian people through all of this time, Mr. Minnis himself, he promised certain things. He got to deal with it. He can't run away from this. Because in the next 6 months, a year and a half, if he don't do what he has supposed to do, the Bahamian people are going to rise up and remove him. Thank you very much.
I appreciate your call. Well, that fella's a straight shooter. If you either do or if you don't do, that's your business. You will be removed. Let's just hope that these fellas are not like the old fellas from the last administration who decided that, boy, we in, let's have fun this 5 years because after 5 years we may be gone. So do what you can do and do it now. Many friends of mine told me that Christie's narrative to most of his inside men and his cabinet ministers and his members of parliament, the favored ones, was that, fellas, we got 5 years. You better try and get everything done while we in, because I don't know what can happen after this 5 years. No. People, that was Christie's narrative. That's a fact. Christie said it often to his people and anybody who may have wanted to get a part of the sweetness. And so, as he said, so it happened. So said, so done. 5 years, they did. They grab. We broke, they rich, or they have all the trimmings of riches, and they get and we ain't get, but they gone and we still here. Now, next and better, is that menacing them? Next, who? You mean this can happen again? God forbid. That would not be a good thing. Anyway, let's look and see what it says on our text message before we call it a day. And this person says, Steve McKinney, there is no reason nor time to increase VAT on us. If the useless PLP had all that money to waste on those contracts, and then that should now show you that enough money is being collected to pay the country's bill. But they did collect some money. But did they pay the country's bill? Christie's own words. Well, what we did, we hired some policemen. We paid the policemen. We paid some nurses. We paid, and he was just going on and on trying to figure out what he did, because he, as the substantive minister of finance, couldn't tell where the VAT money gone. Michael Alcides, God bless him, he tried to tell us where the VAT money gone, but he was being showboat about it. And people weren't impressed with him either. So we don't know where the VAT money gone, but we know where they gone. Bam! They gone home. And they're not happy. They're not happy. Everybody who was a part of that administration, they seem to be aging overnight. You notice that? And that's retribution. That's a part of the retribution, you know. The regrets, boy, we blew it. The pressures of what can happen now to we. Retribution. See, that's why you don't have to worry about no vengeance. I had a young man, Chester Cooper, talked about they must repent and all that. And they so stubborn and hard-headed, they ain't into that. Picewell came right in and tell me, what repent? We ain't going to bend down, wallowing. We ain't doing that. Why should we wallow down? And I think that's the word he used or something like that. I should be bend down and go down low, and we ain't doing that. Foolishness. But you know, sometimes it's good to repent, seek forgiveness, move on from your ways, and go and sin no more. But they're not interested in that. And so there's retribution, because vengeance belongs to the Lord. He knows exactly what they did. He was writing it down. Uncle Willie used to sing the song, man, my God is writing, my God is writing, my God is writing, he's writing all the time. See what you do, hear what you say, my God is writing all the time. And of course, he was writing all the time, and he knows exactly what gone down. We don't know. We think we know. We believe that we understand that some things happen, but we can't prove it. I don't believe we can ever prove it. But we got that gut feeling, that sinking feeling that, boy, they do something bad. But they going to pay for that. You take that from me. They, in many different ways, there's something called retribution. In other words, vengeance belongs to God. You ain't got to do nothing. Just sit back, relax, and see them be no more. Because if you rip off the people like that, if you did it, I don't know that for a fact, but all the signs are showing you signals that, boy, you weren't a good steward. Even Jesus gave the parables about the good steward and those who had all the talents, the money, the talent, and those who went and invested the talent and brought back more, and those who went and buried theirs in the sand and bring back none. And you know the story when the fella came back home, the king, and says, look, how much I give you? What you bring for me? You bring back tenfold? Oh, you're a good man. Go and we can give you the abundance of more. But those who went and buried theirs, or those who gone and hid theirs, in other words, they steal theirs. They thief it, hide it, and figure nobody could know. They hide it in foreign bank accounts. And the Lord came back, he says, you lousy fellas, you no good servants. I gave you this and you ain't bring back nothing. You're worthless. And of course, there was penalty. And that's what we're saying now, penalty. You may think that that sounds all trite and the rest of it, like no big deal. But listen, it's real life. You don't get away with them kind of things. Especially when the nation needed it. And especially when it brought the nation to its knees. We got down to junk-born status. Never before has that happened to this Bahamas. But look at we now. We almost on every corner begging for money. As far as the international markets are concerned, the World Bank and the International Development Bank and all that, the IDB, we are almost out there with our hat in our hand. Give your brother something, man. Buy your brother a cup of tea. That's the thing. Prosperous Bahamas, all this wealth we are blessed with. And look at us, hat in hand. This person says, Ingram expects the prime minister to go contrary to what he said. It's menace nature. When the trap will spring. Clever. Them little termites. That's what this fellow is saying. I tell you. Serious thing. This person says, Alive is using BTC towers. I think BTC is just waiting for that last year to pass, and they got one more year to do that. This person says, a true Bahamian needs to be in charge of IRCA. A true Bahamian. What do you mean by that? Who's in charge of IRCA now? Stephen Baru. Stephen Baru is a Bahamian, in case you didn't know. Okay? I think he has a foreign father or something like that, or foreign mother, whatever it is. But he's a Bahamian. He born in Grand Bahama. Stephen Baru. Good man. Means well. I like him. I think that he's trying to put it together. But, everything got politics in it. And, he's a victim of circumstances again because he inherited this thing. The real fellow who I put all this at his feet is no longer with us. He not in the Bahamas. He went back to Seychelles or something. His name was Usman Sadat. You remember that name? Usman Sadat came to the Bahamas. He wrote the plans for IRCA. He wrote the policy. Then he implemented the policy in time for Ingram them to do what? To make sure that BTC could be sold. And BTC put up most of the money to give the platform and all the infrastructure for everybody. You didn't know that, eh? Yeah, that was BTC money. Yeah. So, I'm an authority when it comes to that BTC IRCA scenario because, it was me who caused Ingram to run them out of town. You remember Usman Sweetie Pie? The woman who was being paid all that money was never in the Bahamas, and she's getting all this consultation money. Remember that? I brought it to Ingram's attention. I say, Ingram, this is what they're doing. Right on the radio. Ingram say, well, she'll have to be put out of the country. I say, but she ain't in the country, Chief. She ain't here. She never came from Barbados. But the Ingram them stopped that. You know, but this was all just stuff just for power for the cause. They weren't too particular. They was hell bent on passing and getting BTC to be sold and, you know, to these fellas that who got it. What they name? What they name again? Y'all can't even remember what they name? My goodness. Who say that they were in charge of all this communication all over the world, and London-based fellas come and take over BTC, and they came in at the tail end and didn't even bid. All these things y'all forget. They never bid. They just came in and inherited everything. Handpick. But you know, I already lost that battle. Ingram then fired me for that. And especially when I go on Bay Street protesting. So you see that one in the straw hat? That's Steve. Yeah, get him. Get him. You know, those are good old days. I loved Ingram then. I still love Ingram now. You know, because Ingram didn't know that I outsmart him. I could talk this on the radio. I outsmart Ingram. They fired me, and I wanted to go from BIS long time. So when they fired me, they walk into my tribe. They didn't know. They didn't even know I had my radio station then set up. I hear when they found out that I had radio station, they say, "Where your radio station from?" They hear me on the air when coming close to 2012 time for the election, and Ingram was nobody greater. I say, really? They say, how dare they do this? I could talk that now. I mean, Ingram then forgive me for that. But I had to get rid of him. That's me when he say, let's get rid of you when they were ready. Yeah, I had to get rid of him. I thought that was a bad thing, that BTC thing. I will never forget that BTC thing. We had the Haymans who were right there to take it and run it. And we did something else. I could never forget that. And I could never forget, too, that I was out there laboring for BTC, marching, catching the bus, going down to town, and the people at BTC wasn't even checking for me. I get fired there. Nothing happened to them. Some of them get paid. Yeah, they got promoted. They got money. I could talk that. That's true. Let them try challenge it, because I got the whole file right there ready to talk about it at a moment's notice. They get paid. And they didn't go down to Bay Street, and they went. They were half-hearted. They wasn't serious. And Ingram then won that. Passed through. IRCA got set up, and they got BTC done straight, and bam, 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 and thank you, Mom, and the rest is history. So it goes, my dear friends. So it goes. Hard Copy, how are you?
Hi, Steve, my brother.
Peace and love. What's up?
Peace and love to you, my brother. And, of course, good evening to the nation. Steve, yesterday I tried to call in a very interesting show with Tennyson Wells. There was a particular question I would...
That was a rebroadcast, by the way.
Oh, it was a rebroadcast. Yeah. Oh, okay. No one that couldn't get in. Okay. Yeah. Basically, I listened to that conversation very carefully. And one of the prime questions I wanted to ask is simply this. You know, we see where millions of dollars for these different projects around the Bahamas was approved by the Bahamas government. And I would have thought that before any implementation of anything would have happened, it should have been tabled in Parliament. All the correct figures are attached to it, and everything should have been presented and gazetted, and for approval by, let's say, everyone in the Parliament. How is it that you know, after the fact, people are saying that these figures, some of these figures that was quoted for these projects, for instance, if a project is supposed to cost, let's say, $2 million, but yet you got the project ended up costing $40 million. What happens in a case like that? That was one of the questions that I would wanted to put to Mr. Wells.
Yeah.
Had it been a live broadcast.
Yeah.
The second thing is, I mean, with all these blindsidedness from a lot of these persons claiming that they don't have any knowledge of these things going on in our country. I mean, then it shows, what does it show? Does it show ineptitude? Does it show that they are complacent? Does it show that they are part of...
Call the right word. Does it show corruption?
I was coming to that word just now because you cannot tell me, Steve. It's just like if it was your money, your physical money, and you're handling your money, you would like to know how every nickel and dime is spent.
Of course.
Okay, but because it's not your money coming out of your pocket, you don't give a hill of beans where the people's money is going. I find that totally unacceptable. And I'll close with this. You know, it's sad that people out there are blaming everything, the current state of this country, everything on the PLP. Let us go back and look at both of these parties that have governed this country over the past 40 years, because when the FNM was in last time, remember the cost overruns on the road works that took place?
$100 million, yeah.
Okay. Who has accounted for that money? No one has accounted. And you talk about corruption. No one was brought forth and even questioned to where that money actually disappeared off to, and that is the people's money. Yeah. So to bluntly put it, to say that the PLP last administration, the 5 years, I mean, even though I'm not in any way, shape, or form in agreement that they have done what was best for the Bahamian people, the FNM cannot abscond themselves from their role that they played in this whole matter. Now, going forward, Dr. Minnis, I'm going to give him credit in terms of he's not cut from the Pinling tutelage. This is a dawn of a brand new day, and I would like to see he and this current administration do this country proud and do this country some good. And I'll end on this note. Everyone is calling for heads to roll. There are certain heads that people are calling to roll, and they said right now as it stands, Carl Belfort is not, not the best person, best-looking person in this country right now when it comes down to even credibility, because a lot of persons are here questioning how could he come weeks after getting in office and then can come out and make a pronouncement when it seems like no true investigation as far as the people are concerned has been done to say that the findings that he came up with is sound. And these are just a lot of the questions out there, Steve, and the people want answers. And I thank you for taking my call today.
I appreciate it. And you're right. There are a lot of questions out there. A lot of people that have doubted Mr. Carl Belfort. But I think Carl Belfort did what is prudent and what is right as far as, being on the side of being cautious. And, you just can't run to judgment. Carl tried to make people understand early in the game that a lot of what has been said in the House of Assembly, in a privileged place like the House of Assembly and elsewhere, that there's no real, I suppose, information or no real facts of the matter about the misfeasance and the misappropriation, the alleged misappropriation or the mismanagement. We see some things that don't look too clear, but there's nothing objectionable, he said, about the whole matter at this particular point in time, not based on what he read. But he's a fellow who is now in the chair as the Attorney General, and he will see a lot of documentation, I believe, that may make him understand differently. And he may come back yet again in weeks to come, days to come, perhaps, and give us a different update that will give us some indication that there are some things that they are interested in questioning the government on or investigating. So Christie and them are not out of the woods. And I wouldn't give up on Mr. Belfort. Mr. Belfort is a prudent fella. He understands it. And while there's some people who don't think that he will do a good job because they think he's a part of the status quo, I don't believe so. I think that Carl is a kind of honest fellow with integrity, and he believes in keeping his integrity and everything else in check. And so he will perhaps do the best thing that he believes will be the right thing. And that may mean prosecutions. That may mean investigations. That, one thing has already happened. There's a criminal investigation unit that's called the Anti-Corruption Unit. That may be the springboard of a lot of things to come in the future in this country. I just want the government to be in a position to, walk and chew gum at the same time, and to make sure that they can balance what they're doing and also govern the country, because the country needs governance. And I think when Ingham was speaking the other day at Rotary with his friends over at that place, with that nice picture on the front page of him in Salt and Pepper. The point is that he was trying to give them some insight as to, what they ought to be very mindful of. And I think that's good advice. You may think that that's not a good advice. I think that's good advice because we have a tendency to get too big for our bridges. We talked about it, Don't forget now, we talked about it. We talked about it through the example of a former member of parliament who one day didn't know anything. He didn't know his left foot from his right foot. And or he got his hands and feet mixed up. But the next day after he was elected, he knew everything. You couldn't tell him nothing. And there were many like that. So sometimes when you're hearing them say, don't get giddy, that's when people get to the point where they have become, I've arrived. By God, I've arrived. And who? Hard Copy? Is that a show? What? When does it come on? What station is it on? They've arrived. Oh, I don't recall. You see, they get all uppity, and biggity, and they forget. And so that's why we keep the record, because there will be many in this government present who will forget. But I have all the recordings. When you forget, I will have to remind you that this is what you were doing with all your passion to get there. Now you're there, you got to perform. And that's why somebody has to keep the record. And that's why I say that we are the nation's conscience. We are the conscience of the nation. You can get it straight from us. We ain't on nobody's side. We want to see good governance, but we want to be fair and balanced. And so we invite all and sundry to be on the show. All we believe everybody has something to say and that they can make a valuable contribution to the growth and development of this country. And so as I say that, I wanted to make this point about something that the previous caller said. This country is rich. We are not only rich with the collection of aragonite and natural resources, but we have so many other ways that we can grow this economy. We need to capitalize on the things that we do have as minerals and materials to keep this country afloat. We're not using it because we're stupid. That's what has happened to us. We're not using it. We decided that we're not interested in certain things because we believe that's for some other people. It's ours. We've got to use it. The other thing that we're very rich in, that we have been told, is the airspace. These routes that go across, crisscrossing across our friendly skies in this beautiful Bahamas, which is a sovereign country, we have not collected any rent on our airspace. They're all using it. We get nothing from it. In fact, we pay them to fly in our own airspace. We pay the authorities, the Americans who govern and manage the airspace for us now. But we have gotten nothing back. So that is where billions and billions and billions of dollars are. We are not collecting it. We must collect it. We must find a way. We must believe in Bahamians in such a way that they are the ones who can go and create the kind of radar and the real things that we can operate, the kind of airspace that we need to be operating. Don't think we can't do it. We can do it. But there are people who say, no, don't fool with that because, y'all will buck up all them playing. Y'all ain't on them but that kind of stuff. Let the Americans do it. They got the infrastructure facility, and they may have the infrastructure facility, but we have to work toward getting our own infrastructure and facility because Barbados has theirs. What makes them smarter than us? Trinidad has theirs. What makes them smarter than us? Jamaica got theirs. What makes them smarter than us? So it's just a matter of commitment for us to go and do what we have to do to make sure that we can get into the game. Getting into that particular game means wealth. It means wealth for the nation. It means that we can get out of the man's hand from borrowing money from them for every little thing when we can be having our own monies and our own treasure trove. But we've got to think like that. We don't have no confidence in our people. We got to begin thinking like that, friends. And so that is one of the things that we've got to also look at. So when I hear about the Flight Information Region, FIR, and the possibilities, I get excited about that. You can't let the other fellas get that too, because you need to understand that all kind of people out there who understand the wealth that's there in the air. We got the wealth in the air. We got the wealth in the sea. Now, listen to this. The shipping lanes is also wealth in maritime. not only do we have all that sand under the ground and in the sea, but we got the shipping lanes for North and South America. They have to pass through us. My Lord, we ain't capitalized on that either. So these things are big business. I mean, you know, you got to be big fellas with plenty of money to understand this, I suppose, in a big way, because, you know, this money is so big, this will cause us to shake in our shoes. We can't handle that kind of money, is what we seem to be thinking. But we got to get there. We got to find ways and means to get there. I say, if you're going to borrow some money so we could buy the infrastructure to deal with our own airspace. That sounds like sense. If you need a truck to carry garbage and you ain't got the money, and you just go to the bank and borrow the money to buy the truck to carry the garbage so you can make money, you can pay back the people loan, and you can carry garbage and make a living. Well, listen to this. If you got a bus or you ain't got the money for a bus and you want a jitney bus, you go, they cost a lot of money, I'm understanding. You go to the bank and you borrow the money for the bus. You get the bus on the road, you collecting passengers, you pay the bank, and you got your bus and you got a business going. Well, I say, same principle. If you need to have the infrastructure in place to control your own airspace, to bring the dynamics to the shipping lanes, go borrow the money. Use your chance to go borrow that money from them same fellas, IDB, World Bank, and pay them back. But get your infrastructure so you could finally get your thing up and running. That's what progressive countries do. It ain't no rocket science to that. That's simple as that. Get the money and get it done. You still got to pay back money for all these other things that you're borrowing money for and you're wasting it. Well, get the money and get something tangible so that the generations down the road could benefit. Because Lord knows we, the Bahamian people on the scene today, going to have to leave something for that generation coming. Because, boy, that's a peculiar generation. That one, the generations coming up, they peculiar. You got to understand. They don't have the ethics. We got to teach them all kind of things. They ain't ready. I tell you that now, and don't get insulted. From manners and respect right down to good housekeeping, to ethics, the punctuality, we got to teach them. That's how you build a nation. You know, so I'm available for consultation. You heard me? Let me say it again. The McKinney Media Group is available for consultation. I'm dead serious about that, about how we can do a number of things, especially in the field that we are experts in, media. There are many things that we can bring to the table. I'm using this opportunity now to just say it to you, so you can't say you were never told. We can bring many opportunities to the table for Bahamians and for the country, for growth. This whole thing about the public broadcasting system, yeah, we got some good ideas with that. In fact, we wrote several papers on those. Never implemented by the corporation. Capitalize on it. There are many things in the governance of the country that is lacking. Basic things that you would think governments would know, but it isn't showing that they know it. That's consultation. That's the business that I'm in, so I expect to get paid for consultation. If you want me, call me. I'm available to you. That's an advertisement. I can do that. You know why? Because you see this medium that I now have, hard copy, on a talk radio show. This is a brand. This is a brand. And people listening to this brand. So we can get things done on this particular brand. The people who listen to me in New York and Washington and Chicago and China, all over the place, Dubai, they're listening right now by TuneIn Radio, by the other application on the radio, Radio Air, by the internet. They're listening. Around the Bahamas, they're listening. By Flow on the Go through BTC 613, by Cable 970. We got you covered. And there are people who are listening and wondering, when are we going to get some things together that's going to show up and secure the Bahamian people? You got to use what you have. The Bible tells you that. Don't go fancy all about the place doing fool. Use what you have. There are Bahamians who are qualified in architecture, in engineering, and everything else, in broadcasting. You got to use what you have so that we can get somewhere. I'm sick and tired of just being a part of, just existing in this country where there's so much potential. And that's why I try to talk to people who I believe have the potential to help us see what we are supposed to be doing. That's why I can talk to Tennyson Wells all the time, and I can talk to even Ali McIntosh, who have wonderful ideas, but she let me down today. But the point is, there are people, there's many people out there who have some ideas. Paul continuously tells me that we need to make sure that we can, create this, remove this exchange control thing. I mean, to get these behemoth people to go and be able to get the venture capital they need to get things going. Don't we need it? We've got to start thinking. And I'm no economist. I don't know the thing about the economy. All I can tell you, when you're doing that bad, you can feel it in your pocket. I know that. You can't buy corned beef. You can't buy bread. So let's go. Let's go, Bahamas. Let's go. This independence, let's go. Let's get it done. I see I have calls there. Take them. Hard copy, you there?
Yes, how you doing, Steve? How you doing?
Peace and love. Hey, how you doing?
C. Alan Johnson here.
C. Alan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing okay, man, but you just prompted me to call you based on 2 points. Just let me make these 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about the what they call the collective intelligence of the Bahamian people, with you being available for consultation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem, that a lot of Bahamians don't seem to understand the value of the intellectual capital in this new knowledge-based economy that we exist in. Because information or knowledge basically is capital. Now, let me explain to you on how consultation happens in our country that we somehow seem to ignore.
Mm-hmm.
Use an example. You talked about yourself as a consultant. And so if they were to call, say, CNN, and CNN says to them, yes, we can help you, and we want a $2 million fee. The problem that I want Bahamians to realize is that CNN, after getting that $2 million fee, will never, ever come to the Bahamas. What they do is find individuals who they would pay $500,000 to implement with their brand, and that's what you're buying, a CNN brand, not the so-called expertise.
Exactly.
Because then they would say, Steve McKinney, we got a good job for you, $500,000, take care of this. The government would then write a check to CNN for $2 million, who would write a check to Steve McKinney or McKinney Broadcasting for the $500,000. And McKinney Broadcasting would have done 100% of the work, but CNN would have added a premium of $1.5 million for the name, for their brand that they have developed over the years. But what we don't look at is the fact that CNN didn't do it, McKinney Broadcasting did. And they would take offense to McKinney Broadcasting getting $500,000, but see no problem in adding $1.5 million to that, so they can have the word CNN doing it.
Yeah. You just gave us a good lesson in 101 on this whole matter, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. But I'm hoping, C. Alan, that we get to the level where the expertise of the people, the intellectual expertise, as you put it, will be utilized, because I know there are many things that you can bring to the table as far as the technology is concerned, and the fact that Grand Bahama needs all kind of shot in the arm. They need shot in the arm and the head and everything else to get that place alive again. But the trouble is we're not believing in us to the point where there are local expertise that can actually get it done. And if you check, there's so many people who got the stuff to get done and want to do it, and perhaps will do it for a fraction of the price, because, at the same time, we see this as, we are patriots. We see this as we're nationalists. We want to also contribute to the growth and development. And so,
the easiest way for them, I would say, is to test. There's a process called testing the Bahamian intelligentsia for accomplishing. Let me tell you what I would do for the McKinney Broadcasting. I'd say, McKinney Broadcasting, here's your contract for $500,000, but you don't get the $500,000. What you have is benchmarks to meet. So if McKinney Broadcasting doesn't meet the first quarter of the things that they're supposed to do in the time they would, at best I would have lost was $100,000. But it allows McKinney Broadcasting to prove themselves in an incremental process. And once McKinney Broadcasting has proven themselves, they can now present themselves from a regional and global perspective, having accomplished this task. But let me just get to my second point. And you talked about the resources. what we have to do is also realize that one of the best means for us to accomplish what we want with all of these resources that you mentioned and others, like a lot of behemoths may not even realize, this has been verified by an international conglomerate that watches the oceans, that the reefs in the Bahamas alone generate $1.5 million worth of revenue in the Bahamas per year. Meaning last year, there was $510 million generated last year, and the year before, and the year before. $510 million was generated in the Bahamas from just our reefs alone, not our ocean, not our seas, just from the reefs alone. And this is documented and verified, authenticated, okay? So the question is, if we're making $500 million from the reefs alone, not counting the entire sea, what is the potential? But here's what we need to do. What we need to do is to remove the political interference, is surrender this to a sovereign wealth fund. But that's not the part that's the most powerful. They act as the custodian for life, including the land that we have. What we then do, when you say for borrowing, we hire people called sovereign asset management. And the way that is done is you say, look, here is the value of my real estate. Just use an example. The sovereign asset management, get nothing from the existing value. They only make a profit from whatever added value they add to it. And so we have nothing to lose, and you have these multi-million and billion-dollar companies that has the intellectual and political leverage to put us into these marketplace, say with Aragonite, they have the influence and whatever else and the technical knowledge that they put together, and they risk the capital, and they say, okay, good, you have this value of $1 billion. We'll see if we collect $1.5 billion, so we could take 20% of that extra. And so they make $100 million for that, whatever task that is. Well, we still have our $1 billion asset plus the $400 million additional dollars that made on top of it. And you have Singapore and you have Qatar and all these other people that have done this. So you're not losing anything because we have a renewable resource. And it's just open for negotiations. But at the same time, you then take young entrepreneur behemoths to create niche markets in those particular industries while also putting some professionals in place. This is how Singapore now manages like 90% of their sovereign wealth funds because they train their individuals. And guess what they did? They surrendered their sovereign asset management, their foreign source asset management to local asset management companies. And we can do this in 5, 10, and 15 years. Yeah. But what we need to do is stop believing that the intellectual capital relies inside of those 39 and 16 individuals and understand that no small group of us will ever be as powerful as all of us. Thank you so much.
I appreciate your call. Thank you very much for your insight and that kind of talk and thinking. That's what we're about. And, of course, 44 years of independence. We ought to be coming into our own. We're almost 45 years old. And, we got to just get away from all the big celebrations of spending plenty of money for the celebrations, but we've got to invest into the Bahamian people so that we can start to reap some of what our people have gone out there in the world to learn and help to develop this country in a big way. And then we've got to support Bahamian businesses. You've got to support it so that at the end of the day, there are more jobs created. And these little businesses will be able to stimulate this economy in a big way. It's not going to happen just by wishing it or by repeatedly saying, small businesses run the economy. Yeah, we know that. So what are we going to do? Are we going to offer the kind of stimulus, the stimuli that we need? Are we going to do it? Are we going to try to help to grow these little businesses by giving them the kind of tax breaks and the kind of incentives to do things? What are we going to do? Because there are people who are depending upon it. And governments should depend upon it. If they're doing it, they should expect good results. If we have our people put back to work and we have enough businesses in this country generating to put people back to work, then half of the problem is solved, It is not going to be solved by governments trying to find jobs for people in these government ministries. It just is not doable. You see, they just put the brakes on hiring and government corporations and agencies. There's nothing there. That's an old, washed out thing now. That's a thing of the past. We got to find ways and means to get more people working at Peace, more people working at The Guardian, more people working at just in the media area I'm talking about, more people working in the Tribune, more people, but you got to have things done in the creation of new entities that will allow for these entities to hire Bahamians and train them and get them ready. And the whole thing can grow. We got to do something to get something. That's the bottom line. So that's your little independence pep talk this time around. It's not so much about if we are patriotic. Of course we are. If we are nationalistic, of course we are. We love the country. Now, we want to feel the love from the country to a big grown man called the Bahamas, who almost 45 years old. Time to get out your my house now and do some things to show your own self-worth. And that is what I leave for you on this Independence Celebration, July 10th. Of course, the programming remains just perfect on Peace this weekend. All the stuff that you're expecting is going to be right here. You have no need to change your dial because everything is right here. From every pep talk to all of the national events to all of the ceremonies of 1973, the speeches made, the actual sermon on that first independence. It's all right here, and all the music and all the wonderful things will happen on this station because we are nationals, and we believe in the Bahamas, and we love this country. And so we thank you on this day. We say happy independence to one and all. Be safe and do all the courteous things and go to church on Sunday, worship, and give God thanks because here we are, still here, still moving, still doing things, still relatively safe, and still relatively prosperous, but there's a lot of room for growth. Let's go home, Stevie. Hard Copy has been brought to you by Rosalie's Takeaway. Around the islands, you can get the best crack coffee. You know that. Seafowl, Commonwealth Seafowl, Kalina Financial Advisors Limited. Sapadilla Summer Glow is happening tonight at Sapadilla. 44th Independence Celebration all weekend long. Bank of the Bahamas, the show Bistro. Go there for boiled fish, go there for lobster and all the good stuff. It's all Bahamian, and there's a big fanfare that they're having, a big flair of good food every day. Mount Tabor's Inspiration, Super Value, Rocky Farms Nursery. Go there and beautify that yard. Water and Sewage Corporation, Ministry of Tourism. Echo Water, the official water of Hard Copy, Commonwealth Bank. Cool Tech, big sale on all the air conditioners in stock. They're going to be open until 5 tomorrow. Bahamian Brewery and Beverages, Super Wash, Advantage Insurance and Brokers. Ron's Electric Motors, Executive Printers on Jerome Avenue. Happy Independence from Jerome, Executive Printers and the McKinney Media Group Limited. For advertisement, public relations, consultation, we just stop. Get it done. We'll fix you up. And we thank you so much. Good weekend to you, Stevie. And everybody else be safe. God willing, we'll see you on Tuesday. We're off on Monday, but we've got everything all fixed for you. It's going to be a wonderful time this Independence. Good night from Hard Copy. God willing, we'll see you next week.